Y'all already know what it is. It's Jay Williams. Let's live life.
And we're back.
As y'all can see from the intro, little man was not having me go to work today without taking him. Most mornings my alarm goes off. I set the alarm on my phone. I reach over, grab it. He'll sit straight up in the bed. So I snooze it, lay down, try to get him to lay back down. So he'll go back to sleep so that, my wife doesn't have to be up at the time that I do. This morning, no. He's done this the past few days. No sooner I'm in the closet, I got a walk-in closet, I walk in. I shut my closet door, that way the light doesn't disrupt nobody. I'm in there getting dressed this morning, he busts in the door. Fully dressed. Got his boots on, everything, ready to go. I'm going to work, Daddy. All right. Well, let's go to work. You're going to work. 4 hours in. All right, Daddy, I'm ready to go home. Mama got me a new toy. You need to take me home. The job that we're working at right now is an hour from my house. So it's an hour to take him home. And then an hour back to the job. So anyways, this is part 2 from yesterday's video. I told you I was going to tell you about these MS-13 dudes and what transpired with that, which is crazy considering they weren't the largest group inside the prison at the time. The Bloods, everybody knows that, always. Anywhere I've ever been when it came to gangs, they always had the largest amount of numbers. Crips came in second, then you had your other gangs. And the MS-13, there wasn't a lot of them. But who they did have, and the guys that were claiming MS-13, I would say not all of them, but at least 95% of them were savages. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying in an environment where everything is ruled by violence, where violence is the only thing that gets you respect, where violence is the one language that everybody understands, they were by far the most violent when it came down to it. I'd seen Blood dudes jump dudes time and time again. I had been jumped. But when it came to them MS-13 dudes, if you seen them fighting, it was a rare occasion. Not that they couldn't fight, not that they wouldn't fight, but their policy was, if we got a problem, we're going to sharpen it with this. We're going to solve it with this sharpened piece of steel right here. Just bit my tongue. That was how they handled everything with the knife. I'd seen them have a disagreement with one of their own and punish him by beating him up. Anytime they had beef with outsiders, the knives came into play. I'd seen situations where they came across stuff within their organization they didn't agree with, and knives came into play. So without further ado, we're going to get into gangbanging in prison. When gangbanging goes wrong, do's and don'ts, ins and outs. You know how to seen it, you know how to lived it, so let's relive it. Now what I'm about to say applies to a lot of things. There were things I saw that I respected. I have no problems with no gangs, no sets. A lot of homeboys that are active. I don't talk to them so much. It was more or less in the penitentiary. I know dudes out here that are active. But there was respect for a lot of these dudes and the things they did. When it comes to the gangs, like anything else in life, you're going to see things you agree with and things you just can't respect. Now, I got no problem with any gangs, any gang members. I've seen things I didn't agree with. I've seen things I didn't like. But hey, let's face it. That's life. You're going to see things at times, especially when you're not involved in it and you can't get involved with it, that you don't like. With the Blood dudes, my homeboy AD, Brim Game. You know what I mean? My homeboy at the last spread I was at, Bounty Hunter. Homeboys at a Hoover. You know what I mean? I got GD homeboys. I've always stayed neutral in all that. Even with this YouTube, when everybody's beefing, y'all see the prison community, and I'm not going to say community, the genre, and then the subs from this channel, they're at like war right now. I stay neutral because I got nothing to do with that. You can speak on my name and I still stay neutral. Aside from you punching me in my face, all that stuff right there is just that right there. I'm not with it. With the MS-13 dudes, man, one thing I seen that they did different that I didn't really see happening with the other gangs is they stood up for the old guys. So did the Asians. Shout out to all the Asian dudes. When I say Asian, I mean that's everybody as a whole, the Asian community. And, you know, shout out to the MS-13 dudes. When it came to them, with the old guys, they didn't have to be a part of their gang. They didn't have to be affiliated. Just because they were the same race or spoke the same language, they would stand up for them old guys. And that's what today's story is about. I've seen other gangs. You see, like, you know, with the blood dude, you see like an old man getting messed with. And this is most gangs in general. They gonna say, man, ain't none of your business. Stay out of it. You know what I mean? He ain't homie. He ain't cuz. Like, that shit ain't got nothing to do with you. Fall back, man. He's a man just like you. He got in here like you did. Let him handle his own. What y'all don't understand is that if you get sentenced to a life sentence at 20 years old, you're still there at 80. You're still there at 90. The penitentiary at times has got a lot of old guys in there. Guys that should be with their families or be in a hospital somewhere. You got infirmaries filled up with old men that can no longer control their bowels. Old men that wake up in the morning and don't even remember where they're at. Where am I at? You gave this man a life sentence and he doesn't even know where he's at. Maybe you should let him go home or put him in a home somewhere because he has paid for his crime. At this point here, he doesn't remember his crime, much less where he's even at. And you see that a lot. I've seen guys have to go to the old guy's cells and be like, hey, man, I be telling you this every day. You heard him call chow. You need to get up. Let us go eat. Where are we going? We're going to chow. Come on, Pops, get up. We got to go eat. Otherwise, that man would sit in the cell and starve. Medical ain't doing nothing. Staff ain't doing nothing. They go home every night, eat their dinner. They stop in the mornings and grab them a Hardee's biscuit before they come in. So for them to walk by and see an old man sitting in the cell, that's so many people. They're not paying attention to what people are really doing unless it's violence involved or something that's just blatantly illegal involved. With the Asian dudes and the Spanish dudes, people keep saying, everybody's not Spanish. I understand that everybody's not Spanish, but with prison, you're categorized. If your ass is South African, you're black. If your ass can be Irish, you're white. Italian, you're white. White, you're white. When it comes to the Asians, it don't matter if you're Cambodian. It don't matter if you're Japanese. They're going to say your ass is Asian. When it comes to being Spanish, it don't matter if you're from Venezuela. It don't matter if you're from Mexico. It don't matter if you're from Guatemala. They're going to say Spanish. The Spanish dudes stuck together for the most part. When I say for the most part, there were some dudes in there that dudes just couldn't rock with. Either because they're one of them characters you didn't want to deal with because you knew something was really off with them, or because you knew they had done something really wrong and it got out. Man, dude's a rapist. And a lot of times they would get at him. There will be times where you have to be around somebody, you find out their charges, and just because you can't live with them living around you, staying in the same cell, you might react to it. But you're not just running up on dudes randomly like, oh man, I heard you had a sex crime. Doing all that. That's not happening. Now the thing with the MS-13 dudes is you never really had to question who was MS-13. You could just look and watch who they associated with, and that would usually give it away. I told you my one homeboy had it all the way across the back of his head. MS with a giant 13 right on top of his head. My homeboy Chop at the last place I was at. Me and Chop got close off of the fact he was a good tattoo artist. I was a good tattoo artist. He wasn't just going to let anybody tattoo him. So we clicked like that. The same thing at the camp I was at before that, the last prison. You had some MS-13 dudes in there that could draw. And that would only tattoo certain dudes. They weren't dealing with everybody because they weren't going to deal with the larceny, because they knew if somebody tried to run game on them, exactly what they were going to do when they tried to run game on them. So I had a lot of interactions with the MS-13 dudes at that last spot before that one. I would hear different things and talking to them. I've told you, when you tattoo, I guess talking is the way for me as well. Talking is a way of taking your mind off the pain. I've got my armpits tattooed. There's not much on me that's not tattooed next to my butt cheeks and areas like that. Ain't nobody about to have me sprawled out like a sandwich, behind me. I don't trust nobody that much. With these dudes, man, I took a liking to them. I knew that most of them had murder charges. And when I mean most of them, if you put 20 of them in a group, 16 of them were convicted for murder and were not going home for a very long time, because it wouldn't just be murder. It would be murder, drugs, guns, and then the serious nature of the crime. There's a difference between somebody that shoots into a crowd and kills somebody, and like some of these MS-13 dudes I met that had actually kidnapped people, taken them somewhere, and then butchered them. That's a whole different caliber of murder. That Fisher Price, play pretend, Walt Disney, bust your gun, miss your target, hit a 6-year-old. That's not a murderer. That man right there that took somebody, put them in the back of a van, drove him 45 minutes to his crib, took him inside the crib, all tied up and hog-tied and blindfolded, and they commenced killing him. He's a murderer. We have an old dude in my pod at the time, and this old dude is not no sort of a gang member, but he's got a gang member in a cell with him at MS-13. Dudes took care of that old man. When I mean they took care of him, they always made sure he ate. If they sat out at the table and they made a big meal, all the MS-13 dudes ate together, and I'm telling you now, it was not a lot of them. But when they would get together and make something to eat, they'd take it to Pops. They'd take it to the old man. Hey, make sure you take some up there to Pops and feed Pops, man. Ain't nobody else gonna look out for him. He's one of us. Take it to him. Even though he wasn't one of them, that's their people. As I told you, his cellmate's MS-13. His cellmate, from the moment I seen them dudes rocking with him, I didn't understand like why they rocked with him or how he became what he became. But I'm guessing this is something he did in the streets. Came to prison, he's validated, so they got to respect it. But dude is not playing with a whole deck. All the cards are not in his deck. And if they are, the whole deck is just full of jokers. Dude is messed up in the head and, he's got a caterpillar for a brain or a soggy Cheeto or a broken Oreo. The dude just wasn't all there in the head, right? Even in the little jokes he made and the little things he said and his mannerisms and his facial expressions, you can tell the dude is not there, man. His loyalty does not lie with y'all. His loyalty lies with whatever the voices in his head are telling him. Pops was old enough that he could move around. He could still go to chow. He could still do these things. But when it came to violence, you'd be ashamed of yourself if you put your hands on this man. Not to mention, he wasn't the confrontational type. Well, the one dude I just told y'all about is always getting into it with things. And I'd have to see the MS-13 dudes calm him down because he's creating situations for all of them. He's creating situations that, because of his dumb ass, these dudes are going to push a knife on somebody, kill somebody, and go sit in 23-1, 5-6 years in confinement with no one to talk to because of something stupid he did. So they were constantly putting him in check. A couple of different times I'd seen bigger dudes that had weight, put hands on the man. It wouldn't change anything. A couple days later, he'd be right back to it. He quick, jump into a beef with the blood, jump into the beef with the crib. And then the main MS-13 dude would have to go over there and say, hey, we're going to handle it internally. He's going to apologize. We're not trying to go to war. The crazy thing when you think about what I just said with them going to war is that they had less numbers than anybody. But sometimes less is more. Yeah, I said it. Less is more. And let me break that down to you. Somebody once told me, I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies. You do the math. They both add up to $1. But which one's more valuable to you, 25 pennies or a quarter? Them 4 quarters being 4 solid guys. Them 100 pennies being just 100 whoever's. Don't know how many of them are going to hold up. But the few select dudes they did have around them was solid. And if they had to go to war with 100 pennies, they would. They break out the 4 quarters, and them 4 dudes could do so much damage, no matter their size, because it wasn't about the size of the man. You know, it wasn't about the size of the dog in the fight. It was about the size of the fight and the dog. And them MS-13 dudes had done heinous things. Things these other guys could only imagine. You shoot, you hit somebody, you see it from a distance. There's a big difference between that and being face to face with the man that you're hurting. Face to face with the man as he loses his life. There's a big difference. Pops would usually throw in. And when I mean usually, like if they were making something to eat, he knew they were going to bring him some food. He had some people in the outside world that took care of him, made sure he ate. If they were making something, they'd stop by and say, hey, what's up, Pops? You hungry? You going to eat something tonight? Yeah. Here, take this, take that. He'd give them a couple little items, whether it be 2 soups or a summer sausage or a tub of cheese and some crackers. He's going to do something to contribute, because at the same time, you don't want to be a charity case. Middle of the night, one night, a whole bunch of scuffling takes place, a whole bunch of arguing. We're all dead asleep. It's 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. We all hear it. I hear it. I know a lot of other guys heard it, because when I got up and went to my door, my cell door, and I looked around, it's dark in here for the most part, except for a couple small lights they keep on for the guards to see. I'm looking around, and all I can see is like silhouettes and people's faces at the door looking out, trying to figure out what the hell's going on upstairs in Pop's cell, man. Who's Pops up there fighting? Pause. Red Bull. The hell is going on with Pops up there, man? I know the little crazy MS-13 dude ain't pressing Pops like that. Next morning, before I can even fully get my teeth brushed and get out my cell, I come out and I look up, and all the MS-13 dudes are at Pop's cell. Question of Pops, what's going on? What's going on? He tells them nothing. There's nothing. We had a little disagreement, and he's a man of few words. He's not going to say a whole lot. He doesn't want no violence. At the same time, the dude, he's beefing with his MS-13, so maybe in the back of his mind, he's thinking, man, if I tell them me and this dude are beefing, even if I'm an old man, they're going to do something to me because he's MS-13. They asked the MS-13 dude what's going on, and I'm leaving names out of today's story just because of how the story ends. They asked his cellmate, hey, man, what happened? He said, man, the old man's crazy. He said, I got up in the middle of the night, and I was eating some food, and he started trying to accuse me of taking his food. Like, dude's crazy, man. He's old, see now, don't listen to nothing what he say. He started cursing at me, so I started cursing back. But that's it, man, that's it. The old man, no, that's not really what happened. And then he just gets quiet. I guess the fear of they're going to retaliate on me because he's MS-13 kicked in. So he just deaded the conversation till the night. Everything's good. It was just a misunderstanding. Everything goes back to the normal routine. I told you, these are not dudes you beef with. This ain't your little dude from your neighborhood that's got a stolen pistol on him. This ain't the dude in jail that's known for fighting. These are dudes that are known for pushing that blade. And they're not like the average person that stabs somebody that just wants to put fear in you. They want to take you all the way up out of here. If they're hitting you with that knife, every time they're doing it with the intention of killing you. I'd say a better part of maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Can't truly remember. We hear it again, but this time it's not 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's probably 11:30, 12. We ain't been locked down but about an hour now, and we hear all this arguing. And the one MS-13 dude comes over his door and yells down to the cell. Pop said, hey, what y'all doing down there? Y'all need to calm down, chill with the bullshit. Stop. You know what I mean? Like, letting them know whatever y'all got going on down there, y'all need to chill out. And it gets quiet. Then about 30 minutes later, you hear scuffling. And it sounds like a one-way fight. You don't hear several sets of sneakers hitting the floor. You hear one set scuffle a couple times, and you can just hear, that there's a fight taking place. Just like last time, the following morning, I get up, I go to my door. This time, I can wait to brush my teeth. I need to see what's going on. All these dudes, they squad up, they go down there. The one MS-13 dude was in the cell with Pops and all this happened. He's still in the cell. They pull Pops out the cell, walk him down the tier, and walk him out to the day room underneath the staircase where the guards can't see, where if your cell ain't really located in that area, you can't see. It's a blind spot. Where I live is cell 20. If I walk out my cell and keep walking forward, bong, I'm going to hit my head on the steps because the steps run straight up like this in front of my cell. They run up the side wall and down the top tier. They got Pops underneath the cell and they question him, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on? And Pops keeps telling him, it's no problem, it's no problem. Pops got punch marks all over his face, bruises. You know, with the old people, you don't really got to hit them hard to mess them up. Like putting a fist on an old man's face is going to do a lot of damage. Way more than it would do to me or you if you got hit in the face, right? Pops' face is different shades of greens and yellows and purples. And this isn't just in one spot. This is in multiple spots where something's done happened. Meanwhile, you still got MS-13 dudes on the top tier, and they're not letting dude come out the cell. Because they got, the other dudes got Pops down in the staircase, talked to him about what's going on, and I guess he done told him, keep him in the cell until we figure out what's going on, right? Pops tells him, every night since this dude has been in my cell, he just goes in my locker and just takes my food. We'll be watching TV because he ain't got a TV. We'll be sharing a TV and he'll be like, I don't want to watch that. And he'll just change whatever I'm watching. Like behind closed doors, dude is taking advantage of me. He's eating up all my food. He uses my cosmetics. He's taking over my TV. Like, he treats me like I'm nobody in the cell. So I told him, you know, I caught him in my box. At first he was sneaking and doing it. Now he's just going right in front of me and just taking my food. And I told him, you can't do that. My people pay for that food. That's the little bit of food I got. You can't just eat my food like that. Dude didn't like his answer and jumped on him. Beat him up on the bed. Old man finishes telling the other MS-13 dudes, you know, what's going on. And I see the one dude, he looks up at the top tier and he nods his head. And them dudes went from standing outside that door to running up in that cell, shutting the door. And it sounded like a construction zone. It just sounded like they were jackhammering and just no telling what they had that they were doing up there, right? And it's the top tier, so it's a solid concrete floor above you. You know it's bad when you can hear the echo of a body hitting concrete that's probably 16 inches thick, and you can hear it thud from downstairs. 45 seconds, maybe a minute passes, they push the button, the door slides open, and these dudes start coming out. You're talking 5, 6 guys that just went in the cell. They all have one thing in common. They've all got blood on them. The dude they messed up, he's not coming out the cell. They go ahead and call chow. These guys go down to their cells, change clothes, throw the bloody clothes away. They go check on Pops. Pops' face is all messed up. Now they got to figure out how to duck what they just did to Homeboy, which is one of their own. He's MS-13. The guy they just will get into completely attacked is one of theirs, and Pops ain't nothing. Pops just an old man. I'm calling him Pops, not his name. I'm calling him Pops. Pops just an old man, but they went to bat for him because one of their own was doing something that was completely against everything that they stood for. I know you're going to say they're known for heinous crimes, they're known for doing this, they're known for doing that. How can they stand for something? That's how prison goes. When you get there, you're not going to disrespect me. Oh, it's the principles, or the morals, or all these different things that, to be honest, none of us really had a whole lot of in the streets, or we wouldn't be there to begin with. They go to chow, and the dude they attack, he ain't coming out of his cell. He's staying in his cell. I fall back, go to the microwave, make me some oatmeal, put my little brown sugar in it, add some milk to it, scoop of peanut butter. This is my protein for the day. I'm going to go out and lift weights afterwards. We come back in, and done made my oatmeal. I'm in my cell, drinking my coffee, waiting on them to call outside rec. When I hear the door pop, you can always hear it's called a slider. When it slides open, it goes sklang. It makes this loud noise when it stops. We'll go door, look out, and I see 2 guards walking down the top tier. They're not aware of what's going on, but what they are aware of is that it's their time to do their rounds. They have to walk around every so often, take a glance in cells, make sure everybody's alive. Ain't nobody chiseled through the wall. Ain't nothing crazy going on in the cells. Ain't nobody tattooing, or they're not going to catch nobody in the middle of nothing. They try to be sneaky, but that door always gives them away when they come in. They go to walk by Pop's cell, and Pops ain't in the cell. He's sitting out in the pod at the table with the MS-13 dudes. They walk by his cell, and then I see them back up real quick and immediately jump on the microphone and say, we need medical, we need medical. We need officers, we need medical over here now, right? They turn to us and tell all of us, Lock down, everybody lock down. Go back in your cells. If you've returned from child, return back to your cells. Go in your cells now. If you're not in your cell, it's a 229. You will be hit with a charge, unauthorized area. Everybody back in their cells. We all go back in, but now I'm like, man, what is going on up here? What have they done to this dude? Pops has got to go up the staircase and go into the cell where now these guards are at, where more guards are responding to, where medical's responding to. They take one look at Pops' face, tell him, step back, go ahead and put him in handcuffs. They put the old man in handcuffs. Because if you had to guess on what's going on inside there, and you take a look at his cellmate, either they were both attacked, or the old man attacked him, or he was attacked because of the old man. Doesn't take, a very bright person to put together what's going on here. But this old man definitely has something to do with it, right? I used to love this about a lot of the Spanish men. I talk to them all day. I know a good amount of Spanish. I know enough to understand what somebody's saying. I understand better than I speak. But I used to love when the white officers would try to question a Spanish guy, and the first thing they would say is, "No habla inglés," telling them I don't understand, no comprende, I don't speak, whatever, right? No understand, no, just all that. No comprende, no hable, no problem. Let them know, like, I don't understand what you're saying. I can't speak what you're saying, but there's no problem here. So they escort the old man up out of there, take him to the sergeant's office, get a Spanish-speaking officer in there, trying to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, the nurses have been in the cell for a while now, and they're not coming out. They're in there, and they're doing this, and I can tell, they're in there doing CPR and all these other things, trying to help this dude that attacked this old man. A couple minutes later, they come rolling in, just like with the other dude, and they got this metal stretcher that they lift up, and the legs fold out. And when they do, it's got wheels on it. They'll pick somebody up off the ground, slide this board under them to keep from disturbing them, pick the board up, lay it on the stretcher, lift it up, and then they'll roll them out. Roll them into the elevator, down, boom, down the boulevard to medical, and from there straight to the infirmary. We stayed on lock for a while. They come in and start rounding up all the Spanish dudes because they know there's no possible way these MS-13 dudes allowed a black dude, a white dude, an Asian dude, anybody outside of their organization to do this to one of their own. If that was the case, there'd be a whole lot of people in here hurt, some of them, and a whole lot of other guys hurt, right? So they know it's an internal incident. A couple of days, we come off lock, and dudes will go talk to the guard. Man, what happened with the dude in the cell? Blah, blah, blah. It gets out. He was stabbed several times, and his skull was fractured. Looks like somebody literally was jumping up and down on his head as it was, he was on the floor. He's unresponsive. He's in medical. He's in a coma. He's been taken from here to Southside Regional Hospital where they don't know what's going to happen with him. They rolled the cameras back, and every single guy that went in that cell, because this cell was in plain view of where the camera's right above the phones, and it swivels on 360, constantly swivels. The great part about where I lived is my cell was out of view. The camera couldn't turn enough to catch my cell. It would get about here, and then it would spin back. They see all the dudes that go in the cell. They come in, lock all of them up. That would be the end of it. I heard little things here and there that the dude was refusing to come out the hole because he feared for his life. He didn't die. He eventually woke up, all messed up, more messed up in the head now than he was before because he suffered brain trauma. All the dudes that went in that cell all got locked up on investigation, and they disappeared. I'm going to guarantee you they went to street court because even if the guy didn't want to press charges, they had all of them on camera going in the cell. The stab wounds, the trauma to his head. Y'all didn't go in there and play a game of spades, come out and him just fall down on a knife several times and crack his own skull. After that, man, a lot of dudes that were in that building, and they had already struck fear in guys in the past because of the level of violence they had shown. But after that, I didn't see no issues with them and anybody for a while. But the problem with prison's constantly turning over. So say me and you get to fighting today, and I win. And after this, I get into 6 more fights, and I win. In 2 years from now, if I'm in that same pod, that's not going to mean much of nothing. Because majority of the guys that were in there on the days I got to fighting aren't in there no more. Now you've got new dudes coming in that don't know me from a hole in the wall. Now today's story doesn't just apply to the MS-13s. I've seen blood dudes hurt blood dudes because they were doing stuff that didn't represent them the right way. I've told y'all stories on GDs and Crips that found out members of their organizations were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. I've seen them go to the lengths of, you're going to cover that tattoo by the time we cut out, like the time we come out for rec, or we're going to cut it off of you. I've seen them damn near kill their own. But I guess they've got their own rules, their own laws they abide by that don't apply to everybody else. Just remember, when you sign up for the gang, you sign up for everything that comes with it. And signing up for it, the laws that apply to me and the other guys that aren't gang related no longer apply to you. You got a new rule book, and you will abide by it or you will be held accountable. I dealt with them dudes, some of them dudes afterwards for many years. And like I said, they didn't have the most numbers on the compound. But they didn't disrespect people like a lot of the other gangs. They didn't just randomly cause trouble like a lot of the other gangs. But they stood up for theirs. And they stood up for what they felt was right. Regardless of what they were convicted for on the streets, regardless of what led them to the penitentiary, amongst themselves, they were true to their code, and there was a lot of unity. That was something I could respect. I could respect it no matter what the outcome was. They were going to ride for their beliefs. With that old man, he didn't take no oath. He didn't have no gang tattoos. He had never been part of none of that. But that whole entire gang knew that can't fly, man. We can't be represented by somebody that's going to take advantage of an old man or beat up an old man. We can't let this dude continue to rock with us, knowing this type of stuff he does. He wouldn't have done that in front of us. That's why he was doing it once the cell door closed. That's why they did what they did to him. Not just because they wanted to show everybody this is the right thing to do when somebody messes with an old person, but I think they did it also to show the other members this is what can happen to you if you decide you want to take advantage of somebody old. This is what we will do to you, one of our own, if this is what you decide to do. Anyways, I got to get back at it. I hope y'all enjoyed today's story. You know, shout out to all my Asians, all my Spanish dudes. I told the story yesterday with the UAB dudes. I don't want the Cambodians to know I take a shot as if I'm calling their gangs fake. What these dudes were representing and what they were claiming was fake. That was directed towards these young dudes I was running with at that age. But anyways, these jails, institutions, detention centers, these prisons, they're all just crazier worlds inside of this already crazy world we live in. And as always, y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And like always, this is Jay Williams, Let's Live Life. And to all my real ones, and there are some real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. Y'all know how we do, man. Salute.